delighted to have Desmond with us. I had a great fortune, really, because this is actually the first time that Desmond and I have met physically before. But I've known about Desmond's work for about 15 years now, and it was first brought to my attention by a former colleague of mine at the University of South Wales, Lisa Lewis,
right,
who came up to me one day and said, "I'm putting forward an application. I'm really interested. There's this community in India who had a visit. She was a Welsh scholar. She had a visit from Welsh missionaries in the 19th century, and now, if you go there, you find that there's been influences, and a lot of their folklore traditions have been influenced by the Welsh missionaries. And we find we have shared words, shared vocabulary, and song structures and things like this." So she was very excited. And then I found out about the work that Desmond was doing with the Khasi culture. And then fast forward a number of years, and I was working with some colleagues on doing a book on storytelling research methods for Routledge, and we wanted to have some case studies, really, some essays from international scholars to show the breadth and range of work that was happening within storytelling research, and Desmond was on top of the list. So very kindly submitted a fantastic essay to that book, which came out earlier this year. And by pure coincidence, Desmond sent me an email and said, "Oh, I'm over in the UK for my daughter's PhD graduation in July. Maybe I'll come up and see you." And I said, "It just so happens that that week is our UNESCO week. How do you fancy coming and giving us a talk?" So it's been a whole series of very happy coincidences that have brought us into this space today. And I'm really pleased about this because we have, in the Storytelling Academy here, we've just finished a large 4-year project funded by the Natural Environment Research Council on UK treescapes. We've been doing a lot of work around how the stories that people tell about their relationships and experiences with trees and treescapes, how they are vehicles for the cultural and social values that we hold about our landscape and our environment. And towards the end of that project, we started asking ourselves questions about, okay, we've been focusing on the stories that humans tell about trees. What are the stories that the trees are telling back to us as well? How do we think about the trees? How do we think about the environment as a performer? How the environment performs and tells its stories to us. So I'm going to hand over to Desmond. Thanks so much, Desmond, for joining us today.
Thank you, Mark. Very good afternoon. I'm very happy to be associated with this program, and I thank Mike once again and Keir, who has been of tremendous help in setting up this event. I come from the state of Meghalaya, that is in northeast India. I'm Indian, and my community, which is the Khasi community, is designated as a scheduled tribe in our country. This is as per the 6th schedule of the Indian Constitution. And one of the advantages of being a scheduled tribe is that when you live in a scheduled tribe area, and if you are a scheduled tribe, you're exempted from income tax. So I don't pay income tax. My community is matrilineal, which means the surname which I'm using, which is Kharmawphlang, belongs to my mother. And the surname that my daughter is using, Lamare, belongs to my wife. So this is the matrilineal system that we follow among the Khasi community. Let me just run through. I have some visuals to share with you, and if time permits, perhaps the last visual will be a performance of a song, which is of a short duration, which again I would like to share. So I will be talking about trees that are being used by my community, especially the people living on the southern slopes of the Khasi Hills, trees that are being used as bridges. So they are called living bridges. They are actually trees, but they are being used as bridges. Can we have the first slide, which is, yeah. So it was in the month of June of 2019 that I trekked down the trail of 6,000 steps to Nongblai. Nongblai is a village located in the precipitous area of the southern slopes of the Khasi Hills to reconnect with this gentleman, Nokot Kriam, whom I had known since 2004. This gentleman, who passed away in 2021, left behind an unparalleled legacy of knowledge about the dangeri, or scientifically known as the Ficus Khasiana, trees that are planted and nurtured because they embody, in parts, the religious and the cultural lives of the people in those places. Their roots are also used to grow bridges, and the work that this gentleman started with the root bridges is now continued by his son, Longsun, and his cousin, Bno. Um, the sound of this.
Nama ala batai kading.
That is the gentleman speaking.
Kani kading wat kalung keren brio na alung keren. Nama kala ai kiti la ai kijat. Tong India. Na sileng kat jong kawa ngin ya sitom. Kat bala se di kiding ai kan pul hajurang walalut ke sengi ngim peng. Nama tang mang pau kata kanam sa kata keburang. Nama katu kajing aidut ia ka kalung kinyut kinyel kiding puut. Along kata kadut hulung. Tangi minot tagi sundrum ki sunda ki nyut ki nyel ki lakhu ki lakhia pi tiding ki si ki bamdei ki jadi ni hapam no basok ba pat ki ba kia maka bas ngusi pen khoi ni pen sabai ka bang snu tanat snu i kada ka jingking mut ke kabodon hapok kaniam hapok guru ko nama ngeladon hakara hakasinong nama kaniam kadon nama ngilakat khu Chua ba ngin ya nadu kajar khun jer keti nama ngi thung hiwa de kejeri man hiwa nama dah daya ka da sutit ka da man ka nek ning ning popo tingi ro penbut halo kata ba karo kan ajing mentoy yangi wangi ron ha de kum kejeri ka ka bo kata keti hiwa ni ke khuyu ding ba ding san ni ke khuyu brio ubule bro bang buat rapo và bang uro ai lat ai long tiu và karo kan ngai siapa mut mangi ngir sumarika ni hab ke khu hab do ka bahkan nom tel nom kam nom tel nom ke beya ki umba yo karong kumno yo ka kit kumno katawa katuot anda bahkan ya da bahkan ya ke ya ki lo ki tem yo yo wan e ki lel ki na ki slap ki na ki bang hyo ki bang dat em ngi ngim pya ngim alat ngi pan map na khamat jong ubule baro ba un sangpa us e kumula bu lakara asla jong kan ka pasai ta khlem kan ni ka jadi ka long ka kami.
Right. So that's the language that we use, that we speak, and the language is named after the community. It's called the Khasi language, and the closest relative is Mon Khmer, which is spoken in Cambodia, in Kampuchea. Um, so essentially, what he just said was um, the forests. These forests of the south are subtropical in nature. I will be sharing some pictures with a preponderance of Ficus elastica more specifically called banyan or Indian rubber and the local Ficus Khasiana. While these trees with aerial roots grow profusely in the wild, they are also grown and nurtured by the people for multiple reasons. A tree is planted to mark the naming ceremony of a child, and its growth becomes a reckoner in the life of the individual. The trees are also believed to protect villages from the plague, from storms and flash floods, which is a frequent occurrence in the area because the place experiences the heaviest rainfall on earth. These trees are also loved and cared for by the people because they form one of the most reliable and safest means of communication. They serve as bridges. The proliferation of these trees in the forests and their enormous size is explained in the story which I collected. It is said that Kalaisanshar, or the goddess, um, had originally commanded four tree species to stay away from humans if they want to grow large and to thrive. Two of them, Kajri and Kaka, which means the Indian rubber and banyan tree, respectively, obeyed, and these trees are humongous. They're large and leafy as promised. But the other two species, Kalakyat and Kasakar, scorn the command of the goddess and they prefer to locate themselves near villages and human dwellings. As a result, they are often victims of human depredation and felling and never attain the full growth and height. Working with such community based storytellers and artists in their locale, I have learned that trees are also seen as moral subjects. Allow me just to cite one example. Some trees are empowered to pass judgment for putting into effect corrective measures when a wrongdoing is committed by a tree or trees, just as wrongly poisoning or causing harm to other beings, humans or animals. Uh, Pinjanai Malai, a PhD scholar of mine, uh, narrated an episode when he was a boy growing up at Umden, his village, when he went to collect firewood from the forest. He and his friend came upon a sobala tree which was bearing fruits at that time. He immediately plucked some and proceeded to eat one fruit. After consuming the fruit, he experienced an acute allergic response, resulting in the swelling in the face and peeling off of the skin, which naturally was very painful. Frightened, he returned home and showed to his parents what had happened to him. His parents advised him to go to where the gooseberry tree stood at the bottom of the paddy field near his house. He was told to fashion a rope out of grass and to tie it to the branch of the gooseberry tree. Pinjanai wasted no time in doing so. Um, this symbolic act of soliciting friendship with another being, an act which is called Kate Mirlam. This is an act which is ceremonially enacted and culturally accepted. And through this symbolic act, the gooseberry tree became the Mirlam or the friend bound by a code of honor. This becomes significant because the gooseberry tree is considered to be the uncle of the Sokbala tree, and it is believed that the uncle would reprimand his nephew for causing harm to his Muslim friend. Within a day, Pinjanai Malai became well and recovered from his allergies. Another example from my grandmother. Uh, in the same manner, there are two species of trees, Kading Kany and Kading, which are not related but inimical to each other. The former has a bark that causes extreme irritation upon contact with the skin. The latter exudes a secretion that causes sores. I remember the many afternoons when my grandmother would walk into a copse located near our house to forage for wild herbs for our supper. She would address the dingan tree that was there, saying, Ladasiat kakan nganyatho hakangan. Or, translated, if the kind tree attacks me, I shall tell the ngan tree and vice versa. This was done to invoke the aid of the opposite species should any harm be caused by the other. This kind tree was partially uprooted sometime in the mid 1970s when a road roller ran off the road that was being constructed near the copse and collided with the tree. I still remember the excitement the incident created, and the excitement reached a fevered pitch when the following day, which I witnessed, we watched a tractor pull the roller from the bottom of the field and towing it away. Let me come back to the root bridges.
Nama
This is, this is the area that I'm talking about. It's a rainforest area, and 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 the trek to the village which I mentioned, Nongblai, is by having to negotiate 6,000 of these very, very slippery, dangerously slippery steps. So you can see the kind of wilderness that's there. The steps again. That's a place called Korshongthai. These are resting places which are found along the route to the village. And that is one of the bridges. These root bridges are suspended over streams and rivers ranging in a span from 17 feet to sometimes 250 feet. These bridges are grown, nurtured by the local people over a time period of 2 decades or more, and they have a lifespan of a few hundred years at least. Um, that's another one. There you are. Thoroughly eco-friendly, these bridges are made from biomaterial indigenous to the places where they are found, and therefore they support soil, water, and air consistencies. They also reveal the human-plant interdependency, which is sustained in a knowledge system produced over generations and handed down through oral tradition and material culture. While Ficus elastica provides the chief material for construction of these bridges, bamboo, cane, liana also used, making these bridges important ecological support sites for the flora and fauna. The utilitarian aspects of the root bridges are crucial to the economy of the villages situated on the precipitous mountain slopes, as they facilitate movement of humans, animals, and goods. Uh, I have watched, past midnight. Uh, me and my team, we have watched, all kinds of wild boars using snakes, using these bridges. So it's not only there for human use. To the discerning eye, these structures reveal a deeply inherent aesthetic presence. The conception of these structures, the planning and strategies involved in creating them, the community based dialogues engaged in agreeing upon locations, the human effort and resource, the selection of building material, the ceremonies, sometimes which would include feasts, and performances involved are all brought together into a kind of a synergy of construction, creativity, and cultural cohesion, which is experienced very, very intensely by the people who create and who use these communication edifices. These bridges represent a living, tangible tradition of indigenous art, which forms a critical component of a larger corpus of artistic thought and production of the people, characterized and reflected in their oral literature, in stories, in material culture, in custom, and in performing arts. Um, there are also, this is a picture of Bno. That's a bridge, although it's a tree, but then it's used as a bridge because this area is crisscrossed by swift flowing streams. There are also narrative songs and anecdotes associated with these bridges, and they further enrich the cultural contexts and deepen the collective epistemological perceptions about communication and responsibility for conservation and indigenous technologies. It may be said also that bridges are considered to belong to the realm of the living, as there are myths about human, animal, and spirit bridges that have religious and spiritual resonances in the folklore experienced by the people. The spaces covered by these structures demonstrate a very striking human animal plant interdependency that has organized itself into a corpus of knowledge, creating systems that have survived for hundreds of years. That's another, these are, it's very encouraging because, this knowledge system is being sustained not only by the elderly and the old, but also by the young people, as you can see from the picture here. Uh, and and this tiny village that has about probably 35 households has something like 18 of these bridges, 18, yes. A core belief about the host trees that are used as bridges is associated with the issue of life force. There is an ostentatious connection between the planter and the tree. And I've also mentioned earlier that whenever a child is born, a tree is planted, and the lifespan of the child is also measured, is reckoned with the tree. There is a code shared between the two, which is based on a system of dialogue, a respect for their physicality, a reception and understanding of genealogy. A special mention has to be made about the concept of ownership. A root bridge spanning a stream or a river is owned by the individual or by the clans under whose control the banks of the stream fall. However, the middle part of the portion or the stretch of the river is owned by the root bridge. So it's the first time that I encounter, a bridge actually attributed a personhood and also an identity, also an ownership. Um, Before we come to the last slide, which is a song that is also associated with house construction and that addresses, the core issues that I've mentioned. The root bridge represents a network of communication that goes beyond the ordinary and beyond the obvious. It connotes a very complex plasma of individual and collective memory, of tradition, of beliefs, of practices which are integrated with the ecology and the landscape of those areas, which is called the War area. That's also one of the practitioners. And so all these people who are dwellers of Nonglai, they sustained this very rich knowledge system of the living root bridges. And for your information, India has used the living root bridge uh, to to apply for a UNESCO recognition, for these edifices, as for these structures to be included in the heritage category. So India is making a very strong bid for that. Uh, I'll need sound on this. Yeah. I shall explain this.
Aho, aho, ahai, oh, aho, aho, ahai. Kumba kwa kala biang sa o khao jong ka yu bei. La na ka jong sem te o in thao sa ya ka bei. Aho, aho, ahai, oh, aho, aho, ahai. U khao mo ha ka kho, o ha sam mo ba du tu. Ha ba thao ya ki ne ba ro te la pa khem mo da o prek. Aho, aho, ahai, oh, aho, aho, ahai. U khao mo ha ka kho, ba la wat ka nyam len. La thao ya ki ne ba ro sa ka ya shat sa ka yak men. Aho, aho, ahai, oh, aho, aho, ahai. Aho, aho, ahai, oh, aho, aho, ahai. Oh, pew.
Okay, so what you just saw is a house construction song. It's the performance of a house construction song rendered by Robert Conlam, a very active tradition carrier of this genre of singing. Uh, this song actually has a total of about 22 stanzas, of which I'm not able to reproduce the entire thing here. So I've just chosen the last three. So this song is talks about the construction of a house, beginning with the identification of the plot, identification of the site. So when a site has been identified by the local community there, a song is sung in order to drive away, the other living beings, the other living creatures from that site, with a plea that please, we need this space for our house construction, so please move elsewhere, and so on. Then when timber is brought from the forest, there also, one has to address a tree three times before felling it, because that is the practice that is being followed. And again, it is, you would have to implore that you actually need this material for house construction. So the entire song talks about house construction, beginning right from the identification of the plot till the creation of the roof, the thatch, And the last one is a very interesting reference to a lizard, which is kanyangbulan in our language. It's a venomous lizard, and in this particular case, according to the singer, when they identified that spot, they found that that place was the lair of Kanyang, and therefore they had to sing to the lizard to please go away, and we will give you the appropriate place of honor when the house construction is done, when we have built the house, and they and therefore, they invite back the spirit of the Nyangbulan to come into the house and stay with them in the house. And that's the reference that we have there, in the last. So uh, it's very striking, because all the different parts and portions of the house, the beams, the rafters, the foundations, and so on, they all have symbolic resonances to animals, to wildlife. As you can see, the elk is mentioned, the porcupine is mentioned, the wild boar is mentioned. So all, this entire realm of wildlife found in those parts is taken into account, and is developed into a song such as this one. The instrument which you see here is called a ding pong, and it functions both as a string instrument and also as a percussion, as you can see, and it's made entirely of bamboo. In the Khasi Hills, we have about 44 species of bamboo. I don't know how many species do we have in China.
No, no, I'm
Yeah,
not that much.
but there are 44 species that are there in our area, and we use bamboo, and bamboo is used, right, to use the much quoted phrase, from the cradle to the grave thing. When a baby is born in the villages, especially, so the implement which is used to cut the umbilical cord is a sharp piece of bamboo, and when a person um, dies, she or he is kept in a krong, which is some sort of a beer made of bamboo and taken to the cremation place. We also have, we take a lot of bamboo shoot. Bamboo is edible, as furniture is made of bamboo, and so on. So there is this constant reference, of course, to bamboo. So with this, I would like to thank you for your patient listening. And kuble is the word which means thank you in my language. And I'll be very happy to respond to questions, comments that you may have, criticisms even. Thank you.
Thank you.